also not entitled to an opinion.
Disinformation is a security threat.
One of the reasons this issue has become so vexed in the United States, because now ordinary people are getting a lot of disinformation in social media.
Here, because I think I've been invited here to be candid. Elites tell us that open borders and even illegal immigration are okay.
All right, guys, welcome back. So we're about to dive head first into the swirling vortex, not the polar vortex, but another kind of vortex of today's polarizing and very pressing issues.
The melting of the Greenland ice sheet affects
I mean, well, damn, is he ever going to get to the point?
acid would increase the level of the oceans by 7 meters.
And here we thought President Joe Biden was bad with words, right? Oh my God. Now we live in a world where the Greenland ice sheet, it isn't just melting, it is screaming environmental alarms. And yet we're more tangled up in this latest tweet of storms than in saving our planet. So let's take a closer look at this here, right? So a single tweet from Alex Soros. Now you guys might recognize the last name Soros, offspring of the infamous political donor George Soros. Does the name George Soros ring a bell? I want you to pay very, very close attention to what's going on at the WEF. And the big question for you guys is, by the end of this video, I want you to tell me, is former President Donald Trump under threat? Pay very close attention, guys. So it's sending ripples throughout the political landscape, a very cryptic message, possibly targeting President Trump or former President Trump, but we're going to get into that later. And this isn't just gossip. It's a mirror reflecting our society's obsession with intrigue over substance here, okay? Now, just kind of switching the gears just a little bit to the glitzy halls of the World Economic Forum, the WEF, where the so-called global leadership convenes over in Davos, Switzerland.
You know, I don't think that's the fundamental. I don't think technology is the fundamental issue in democracy. Democracy is messy. I mean, you know, democracy is about contestation of ideas. It's about plurality. It's about people having different truths, actually. Now, fundamentally, how society lives together civically in those contestations is obviously quite tricky. But I think that if we play too much on this disinformation card, we're taking the responsibility away from ourselves to actually create a narrative that inspires people to vote and to believe in democracy and democratic institutions. And on the institutional part, I think that we can talk about institutions as these abstract things, but institutions are also about people. And we just heard this point about untrustworthy people, and we talked about things in the United States like checks and balances, which aren't written anywhere but are customs. And one man, Donald Trump, literally came in and just took that all away. So
here, amid the champagne and lofty speeches, are they're really addressing the world's crises, or are they just kind of playing a high stakes game of chess with our future? Now, these are unelected leaders, mind you. Now, we're about to dissect all of these topics, not just for the sake of controversy, but also to challenge the status quo, guys. How do we shift through this noise to actually find the legitimate signal here, right? Like, are we as global populations participants in these narratives, or are we just pawns of a larger game? And in our quest to combat disinformation, have we lost sight of what truly matters? But join me in this one, because we're not just gonna listen as pawns here. We're gonna be thinking about what's actually being said, and we're gonna question everything that they're telling us. All right. And we got to take this thing to another level is basically what I'm saying. So Let's go ahead and challenge what they're telling us and actually question these narratives that they're feeding us, all right?
As we start 2024, the biggest electoral year in history, democracies across the world will head to the polls, and half of the global population will be affected. For the global business community, the top concern for the next 2 years is not conflict or climate. It is disinformation and misinformation, followed closely by polarization within our societies. These risks are serious because they limit our ability to tackle the big global challenges we are facing. Changes in our climate and our geopolitical climate, shifts in our demography and in our technology.
So the Greenland ice sheet, right? It's more than a symbol of climate change, okay? It's literally the harbinger of profound transformations that our world is undergoing significant changes as we speak, all right? And it's really a stark reminder of our changing world, you know, with the potential to raise the ocean levels by 7 meters. But even beyond the scientific data, that there lies a much deeper question here that needs to be answered. How do we as a society respond to such environmental alarms, right? We've all seen the movies like Day After Tomorrow and San Andreas, and we know what is possible, what, you know, worst case scenarios kind of look like, right? We don't want to experience that. But are we just too caught up in the noise of daily politics to actually hear what our planet's telling us? Now, let's consider the very curious case of Alex Soros' tweet, right? Son of George Soros, a political donor. So his cryptic message interpreted as a threat against President Trump, it really stirs a cauldron of speculation here. Now, but this is really a hidden message. Or is it not? Or are we seeing shadows where there are none? I mean, let's really question this thing, because maybe this is nothing. Maybe I'm just blowing everything out of proportion, but maybe I'm not. I mean, this leads us to a broader reflection, doesn't it? Like, in our quest to find the true meaning of what's actually happening here, sometimes we have to dig a little bit more deep than what's just on the surface. Now, democracy is inherently, it's messy. There's competing ideas and truths, yet in the chaos lies, basically the freedom to contest what they're telling us and to differ, right? We can agree to disagree, but are we losing sight of, are we losing sight of this in our quest to challenge this disinformation? Now, by focusing a little bit too closely on the dangers of misinformation, are we in fact undermining the very fabric of democratic debate, right? Institutions, often viewed as abstract entities, they're fundamentally about people, right? The rise of figures like Donald Trump challenges long held customs, such as the underwritten checks and balances of American politics. This disruption, it's prompted a crucial question. How resilient are our institutions in the face of charismatic, unconventional leadership? Again, World Economic Forum, we didn't vote any of those guys in the office. The analysis of Soros' post suggesting a financial reward for targeting President Trump, it does raise some alarms. But here lies a crucial inquiry here. Are we too eager to find sinister motives in cryptic messages? In our search for hidden truths, do we risk creating narratives that ultimately distort our true reality? Now, as the world prepares for a very pivotal electoral year, 2024 presidential elections is literally here, guys. The focus, surprisingly, isn't on conflict or climate, but it's more focused on disinformation and social polarization, if you guys are paying attention to what they're doing to us. These are not just abstract risks. They tangibly hinder our ability to address global changes. But in identifying these threats, are we actually missing an opportunity to kind of foster a more unified, constructive conversation? Now, the intense reaction to Donald Trump, particularly at forums like the World Economic Forum, is a very telling sign, guys. Very telling. And it kind of reveals a deep-seated fear and uncertainty among the elite. But what does this tell us about the current state of the global leadership? Is Donald Trump not a part of it? Is the panic more telling than the policies being discussed? Now, amidst the tumult of global politics, there's a growing call for reclaiming common sense nowadays, right? But does common sense mean what does it mean in a world where truth is often, a matter of perspective? Now, can we find a middle ground where, different viewpoints can exist at the same time without, a platform silencing you? Or are we basically just kind of destined to agree to disagree, and I'll just ban you because I don't agree with your opinion, kind of shadow banning, if that makes any sense. So as we debate over funding the World Economic Forum and the ethics of climate change strategies, a larger question is still among us, guys. How do we balance economic growth with ecological responsibility? Are our current strategies a little bit too radical, a little bit too conservative, or maybe just simply misguided? So, to kind of wrap it up a little bit, our journey through these complex issues, it reveals a world that's grappling with like all sorts of challenges. We got truth, we got perception, we got democracy. I mean, as we stand at the crossroads of history, it's crucial that we actually ask ourselves, how do we navigate this maze of information and disinformation? And how do we determine which is which? Anyway, guys, if you made it this far in the video, definitely hit the like button for the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'm gonna catch you guys on the next one.